Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Pure Digital Passion Podcast with me, Moses Kemibaro. My guest today is actually with me for the second time, this time representing Loop exclusively, which is the organization where she's the Chief Commercial Officer. Her name is Sheila Kimani. She's somebody I've known for many, many years, as I remembered recently. And Loop, as we know, launched in Kenya in 2017 as part of the NCBA Bank Group, offering a range of digital-first banking propositions. I remember being at the very launch event at the time, which was super exciting. They had this presenter called Vusi, who at that time I never knew who he was. And I'm grateful that Loop actually introduced me or showed me who this guy was when he presented. But anyway, from that launch, it was very clear that this was a youth-oriented proposition. The way it was built from the ground up really showed us that banking could be very different in terms of what we perceived and how we used it. And going forward, Loop recently went through a massive update in terms of the user experience to make the application and how it works on our mobile devices simpler, easier, and better. And they've also layered on additional services to the same. And Sheila's really going to take us through a journey in terms of understanding where Loop has come from, where it is today, and more importantly, where they're going to in the future in terms of enhancing digital financial services for Kenya and the African continent. Thanks so much for joining us, Sheila.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Moses.
So Sheila, let's get started in terms of maybe getting a sense about yourself and what it is that you do at Loop so that we can really appreciate what you're doing over there as well.
Okay. So first of all, thanks for inviting me to this podcast. Again, a pleasure to sit with you and have a conversation about what we're doing in the fintech space. So my name is Sheila Kimani. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Loop DFS, which is a digital business for NCBA. So my responsibilities there is basically to oversee the commercial strategy, ensuring that we're innovating for the need of the customer, and ensuring that at the end of the day that we meet the customer at the point of need. And in essence, for us as Loop is to acquire more customers and drive our revenue numbers at the same time. Thanks.
So going back to sort of what is Loop, if you're able to describe it in the simplest, most accurate way, what is Loop?
So Loop is a lifestyle brand, and basically we are a lifestyle-focused digital platform whose essence is basically integrating to Momo, to banks, Momo being mobile money, to banks, as well as international payments, as well as local payments, and basically ensuring that we're able to service our customers. An additional exciting thing that we're doing is we have PaaS, which is basically platform as a service, where we have various ecosystems that we service. So we have the trade ecosystem, which is basically financial services embedded. We have agriculture, we have health and education, and then in home and living. So basically, how do we embed financial services onto these four ecosystems besides what we do as Loop? So very exciting to see how we are bringing that to life.
And now it sounds to me that this is a big evolution from 2017 because I remember even when it first launched, it came across as a very youth-driven product. In fact, I felt very cool at the time signing up for Loop, and I went to your branches, which felt more like a co-working space than a bank. And even though the service delivery was, experienced, but it sounds to me like from 2017 to where we are today, and you're talking about agriculture, for instance. Can you tell us about that evolution? What's happening in the background?
Yeah, so what we realized is we are not a traditional bank and we do not want to be a traditional bank. So how do we embed technology to be able to service our customers? And therefore, a digital platform is actually our branch. And with that understanding and that vision of what we're doing, we've then come to realize that there are very many ways that financial services can embed themselves in the various ecosystems. So besides what we do at Loop, where we have credit, we have payment capability, we also have ecosystems. So like, for example, I'll speak briefly to what we're doing in the ecosystem space. We are currently working with the rice farmers in Western and Nyanza area. And basically, we organize them. They already have the community that they work with. So how do we come in and organize them and enable them to be able to ensure that they're able to farm according to what is required in terms of staging, ensuring that we're providing financing from preparation of land to actually getting them off takers on that front. So it's been quite a journey moving from the thought of we don't have to be physically in store. We can actually be digitally in store and creating these capabilities across the Loop life cycle. Yeah.
So as you deal with predominantly, I guess, this sort of market segment, because I think the kind of people you're describing and all, are we saying therefore that from a digital perspective, more and more Kenyans are online, including those who have the farming collective?
Certainly. I think if you have children, you already are exposing them to devices, digital
Yeah.
devices, and therefore it's a wave that we really just have to ride and ensure that we service the customer need. And what's unique about Loop is we're able to preempt what the customer needs and then build solutions that speak to them. And we also listen a lot to our customers. What exactly are they looking for? And therefore, you'll see like most of our customers are actually, Gen Zs, millennials, gig workers, people who are actually living a digital life. And for us, that's where the lifestyle comes in. So besides me enabling you to do payments, to get credit, to service your ecosystem, how can I ensure that I'm also enabling you to do much more through digital capabilities that we provide? Yeah.
So another thing I noticed about Loop, maybe not too long ago, is that you've also built a pretty large merchant business. Can you take us a little bit through that in terms of what that is and how that particular journey happened?
Okay. So again, listening to our customers, we realized that besides us servicing the consumer end, they were also looking for a matchmaking activity with the merchants. And so last year we decided let's go to market and just test this. So it's actually been more of a POC, but a very successful POC because we currently have about 200,000 merchants on the platform.
Wow.
And so we see our platform, our digital platform, as an enabler in terms of matchmaking. So you have a consumer on this end, he's looking for a particular product. Instead of him trying to look for that particular merchant off the platform, we've now brought in merchants. And
Wow.
through something that we're calling Discover, which is basically our marketplace, these merchants come in and they offer deals to our consumers. So that's how the merchant journey began. We realized that our customers, and we can see where they're paying into, they're actually mainly paying into merchants. So if somebody has bought something, I'm doing a Momo payment, I'm using a card payment, because the other unique thing about Loop is we actually do have Visa debit cards. So,
Yes.
and MasterCard debit card. So you can actually come on board and get a card. So we're looking at where our customers are spending, and actually, I'd say 80% of their transactions are actually happening to merchants. So we saw a strong need. And then just being in the market and looking at the evolution, we do know that about 85% of the businesses in this country are actually SMEs.
Wow.
And so for Loop, we're like, how do we ensure that we can tap into this by building a product that works for the merchants also? Because look at this, you have 500,000 consumers. And they're probably going to, and some of them are actually already SMEs, but they're having to use another app. So how do you ensure that all these transactions are happening seamlessly and are very user-centric, seamlessly within the platform? And that's where the merchant proposition came about. So far we do have a merchant proposition, so we're able to the merchants are able to receive payments through Momo, through card. We're also bank agnostic. So as an SME, you don't have to open an account, a bank account with our affiliate bank NCBA. So you're able to actually continue transacting with your other bank, and we're able to facilitate almost real-time settlement for your deposits that you've collected through the till. Yeah.
Actually, that's something I've noticed because I've been on Loop since the very beginning in 2017. I've used it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things in the last upgrade that we saw was that you had kind of like your bank balance and then there's a separate wallet. Is that what you're talking about being bank agnostic, when you sort of have that separation between what's sort of domiciled at the bank and what almost feels like it's sitting in a separate area, which can then connect to something else, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah, so what we've done is you're able to receive like Momo payments into your Loop till, the wallet now.
Yes.
Yeah. So very similar to what our competitors have in terms of till collection. But now we enable you to have a Loop bank account, which you can then now settle into your other alternative banks. So for example, maybe you already have a bigger facility. Again, for us, we're looking at servicing SMEs, entrepreneurs, and therefore the ticket size in terms of credit will be smaller. So let's say you already have like a construction loan running with another bank. I'll use our mother bank, NCBA, but you don't have the capability to actually collect directly into your NCBA loan account. So you can actually use the Loop till, collect that money, then settle it into your Loop bank account, and then to whichever bank that you want to drop your funds, you're able to do that.
Wow. So you can actually link with NCBA proper from Loop as well.
Correct.
But actually, I have done that. I do have an NCBA account, so I move things back and forth.
Correct.
Well.
So that's seamless. Now think about a bank outside NCBA. You're actually able to do that. So we are not forcing SMEs to have to open accounts with us, guys. We're bank agnostic, so less friction in terms of how you do your transactions, how you manage your financial services as an SME. So that's where now the merchant proposition comes into play.
What about in terms of Loop adoption, right? I mean, I think you've just alluded to a number there. I don't know if that was accurate. About 500,000 people signed up. And this is now the individuals versus the businesses. And then
Yes.
200,000 merchants who are available on the platform.
That's correct.
And a lot of these numbers, are they driven predominantly through organic growth? Is it a question of word of mouth? How has it managed to grow so much?
So I think Loop just took a life of its own. So yes, you can see us a lot on the digital marketing, and we don't have people actually on ground doing acquisition for consumer. But on the merchant proposition, we do realize that it needs a warm body backup, which means I need to have a conversation with Moses Enterprises for him to understand what my offering is. I don't think yet as a market we've reached that point where you can have self-onboarding on SME. But what we've done is, as much as I'll have a conversation with you, again, I also want to understand what your needs are as an SME. Is once we've had that conversation, everything else is digital. So you upload, you download the app, you upload the documents that we need, and within 3 minutes, you have your account ready. So for the consumer, where we have 500,000 customers, that is entirely digital acquisition. So basically me having a conversation with you, or you see our ad somewhere, me as a Loop consumer, and telling you about the benefits that I'm getting from Loop, and you getting on board, where you see our digital ads, and you then you get interested, and you then go and download the Loop app. But on the merchant end, it's promoter led. We have feet on street that actually help us to do the acquisition, but it's only for that initial conversation, because again, SMEs are very different, and therefore I need to be able to have a conversation with you so that then we can create a bespoke solution for you.
Great. So one of the things I've noticed, I think, since the latest update, and I just like to talk about maybe some of the features first before we discuss the UX, is there seems to be new capabilities. Like I can see there's loans that is active now. I think I saw some overdraft facility, some new capabilities. Maybe you can talk us through some of those capabilities and what informed them and how they're performing thus far.
Okay. So for Loop Consumer, we have 3 strong propositions. So one is Pay. And I'll speak to that. We have Grow, and there's a third one. I'll speak to. They'll come to me. So anyway, let me speak to Pay. So Pay is basically you being able to do your payments. So it could be P2P. It could be a B2B. A C2B. It could be a card payment. Like I said, I think we're the only fintech that actually has Visa cards on it. So you can actually do your payments. I can actually send money to my domicile bank. So basically through an RTGS or EFT.
Correct.
Now, when it comes to Grow, under Grow, what we're doing is credit. And like you rightfully said, we now have Buy Now, Pay Later, which is catching on in the market well, and I'll unpack that further. We're able to get 30-day loans. You're able to get overdraft facilities as well as term loans. So each of those will have a specific need. And then under Grow, we also have savings. So, for example, I'm already thinking about where I want to take my family for holiday in December. I can already set that goal where probably I need 50,000 for me to be able to fulfill that. And I say every month I want to give this much. So you can actually set it and it will automatically debit your main account and into the savings. Or you want to invest. So this is more than just a goal-specific investment. Savings is where you're now looking, I have extra money, I've just received my bonus, I want to put money into investment. I can actually do that on the Loop proposition. The third one is the Discover, which I spoke to. Discover is basically a marketplace where we're saying, I have 500,000 consumers on this end, I have 200,000 merchants on this end. How do I do that matchmaking?
And connect them,
Yeah, so what we're doing is speaking to merchants, like you recently saw the launch that we had with Samsung, we've done that with Oppo. We've partnered with Hotpoint, Bata, Shell as well. And actually, during the December holidays, people really, really did enjoy our cashback on Shell. I mean, we're all traveling around the country. So again, just getting some money back into your pocket was really good. So we partner with merchants like the ones that I've mentioned, and they give us discounts. And then we provide those deals onto our platform, and our consumers can actually consume them. So
fantastic.
I want to mention one that's very relevant right now. We have Hotpoint where they're doing a 40% discount.
What?
So amazing. So how do our consumers actually take advantage of that and enjoy it? Again, speaking back to our vision and what we really want to be, we're a lifestyle brand. So besides enabling you to do your credit and your payments, Moses, how do I help you to also fulfill your lifestyle? And that's how it's coming alive.
I mean, obviously, I think it was last month, you and I met with the team from Samsung, where you had just launched the new S-series devices, and we had a podcast with you present. And I think there's something very interesting that came out in that conversation about the level to which the Buy Now, Pay Later proposition is being used from yourselves.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe how it converges with, partners like Hotpoint and Samsung as well?
Yeah, so there's two ways that we're looking at BNPL. BNPL could be Moses walking in and probably to Hotpoint. Let me use Hotpoint since I've spoken to them. Hotpoint, and you want to purchase a rice cooker, for example. Yeah. So at that particular point, you could either be already an existing Loop customer or you're a new customer. So if you're a new customer, you just come in, you download the app, and we're immediately able to score you and give you an indicative limit. Now, if you're already an existing customer, at the point of checkout, because we're looking at BNPL as a payment option,
Yes.
is you then will go and select that you want to pay to these particular stores, and you enter the till numbers. And at that particular point, we'll ask you how exactly do you want to pay? Do you want to pay through cash? Do you want to do an overdraft, or do you want to do BNPL? And you'll select BNPL. At that particular point, when you select that, the money moves immediately from the Loop accounts, our suspense account, into the merchant's account, and immediately you're able to walk away.
Wow. So it's leveraging the ecosystem that you have in play with the
Correct.
merchant and the customer.
Correct. The other one, like I said, we're looking at how do we work with partners. So, for example, let me use Samsung. They probably are working with Moses' company, and they provide you devices. And so you already have a relationship with Samsung, and Samsung can therefore tell us, you can take Moses Enterprises, we already push this number of devices, and we can actually do funding on those BNPL requests that your staff would probably have. So basically looking at it as a consumer individually coming in, or as a scheme where Moses Enterprises already has a relationship with an existing partner, and how do we help them to actually fulfill that.
So I can actually do the BNPL also as a business then.
Correct.
Okay, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So we've seen an opportunity there, and I think it makes a lot of sense because your partner already understands you. But what you probably are already doing is going to Samsung and telling them, I need 10 devices for my staff, and you probably are taking credit from them. But they're not a financial institutions. They're not an institution, they're not. So why not come to Loop, partner with us guys, for us to be able to fulfill that? We know how to underwrite, we know how to take the risk, we know how to profile your staff as well as your company, and progressively extend credit to them.
Yeah. Fantastic. What about the, you talked about the term loans and also the overdraft and so forth. Can you talk a little bit more about how those work within the Loop environment?
Yeah, so again, we use various data sets to profile you. So first of all, if you already have a wallet with us guys, it means we're already seeing how much money is coming in and out, and we're able to make a decision on that. We'll also use other players in the financial services space that will give us information. For example, like if you have loans existing, how do we then profile you and take the right kind of risk on you? So that's how we do the profiling. So depending on the product, there are products that you'll get credit on day one. There are products that we feel are higher risk, so therefore we need to understand you better. I'll probably push you to a 3-6 months engagement with us before we can actually, give you credit. So basically, we use digital data. We'll not ask you to come with title deeds for us to profile you. We just use the existing digital data to profile you and then provide you credit. Term loans are more long-term, so we're looking at a maximum of 36 months, ceiling of about 5 million shillings. 3 million shillings maximum. And we then will profile you correctly and then give you the right amount for the right period. Again, we don't want, for us, it's a lot of financial justice. We don't want to over-indebt you and then you hit Loop and it becomes the talk of the town. We want to ensure that whatever credit we extend to you actually makes sense, you can actually service it, and we're able to fill in that financial gap that you probably had for whatever need that you wanted to fulfill.
Do you find that there's opportunities around financial education or financial literacy that Loop can extend to customers? Because I suspect that sometimes, and I'm only saying this because you see a lot of younger people nowadays with very expensive phones, for instance, and you wonder, chances are that is 150K. Do they know the responsibility and the commitment they're making? Do you have mechanisms there for education or helping this customer make sure they can stay committed to their loans, for instance?
Yeah, so we're using a lot of AI to do education, not where we need to be but we're using that to give you insights. So basically, at the point of a transaction, we'll show you how much you actually need to pay back.
Yes.
We're actually having a conversation with one of the partners who's built a mini app that speaks to credit education. So we want to see how can we educate you besides just the credit process, just to give you, normal literacy that you should have.
Broader financial education.
Yeah, correct. Education, so that then you're borrowing responsibly. But on our end, we're also seeing how, and this year we should be able to embed that, is that education that when you go on your Grow page and you see the facilities that are available to you, it's more than just this is the limit that's available to you. It's more educative, so that then you know, if I take this, this is what it means. If I take a 30-day loan, this is what it means. If it's an overdraft, it means, you know, just the same way that our competitor currently has Fuliza, where whatever money comes in, then we'll cut it off your OD. So that education, we want to see how we embed that. But offline, as we fix the tech and ensure that this digital literacy is coming in, we ensure that we have a day one care call. Yeah. So first, when we realize that there's a limit allocated to you, you'll get a call, just educating you that, Moses, this is available to you. Post that, at the point of you drawing down, there's a day one call where we'll come in and ensure that you've understood this is how much the fees will be, this is the term of the loan, this is the amount, this is the repayments that will be required, to ensure that our customers are well educated. And what we're seeing is that has actually a very positive impact. You'll find that customers are more responsible. So when you look at our NPLs, are quite low.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
quite low.
So another thing I want to talk about is maybe a little bit about the journey, you know, from what was the user experience before the transition, I think happened about a month ago,
Yes.
Where we are today. I'd like to understand a little bit about what informed that decision. Many customers will tell you that they're probably quite okay with it.
Yeah.
I remember personally that the learning curve from the app that you launched in 2017 and a few years later was quite steep.
Yes.
But I'll just also just like to point out that this transition was very smooth. I never saw any difficulty transitioning to the new experience. So that was a job well done by Loop. But talk a little bit about what informed that decision, so that also our audience can appreciate what informed it and what we have today.
Okay, I think you'd be a fool to repeat the same mistakes again. Let me start off there. So considering the experience that we had with the previous one, we had to go back and rethink, how do we do the next one? Because again, we can't say, now we are stuck here, we've gone through a hard time, we need to just relax and just let this settle and force it down people's throats. So that was the one thing. Then the second thing was, our customers are talking. And like I said, since we're having conversations with them, and for us, customer intimacy is so close to our heart, is how is that feedback that's coming in being translated to the changes that the customers want to see? And so basically, this change was actually driven by a request from our customers.
Oh, really?
So feedback on what we were seeing, and we're like, okay, what can we do better on this and this? And then again, I want to say we have the right resource in-house. So people who are able to translate the customer needs into actual, what you can see right now in our UI UX. So it was more of lessons learned based on the previous change, and then thereafter listening to the customer. What does the customer want? And we then realized there were things that were quite powerful. Did you know that you could actually pull money? And by pulling money, I mean money pooling. So myself, yourself, and our siblings are raising money to us.
Almost like a chama.
Yeah, but it was so hidden, you couldn't see it. The other thing was like savings. It was very hidden, but now all you do is just swipe and you can see savings and you can see invest. So again, listening a lot to our customers and realizing this is a powerful CVP, but you're actually nurturing us where it is. So unless I stumble on it by chance, I don't know it's there. So that also led to us guys realizing that we needed to change the UI UX. How does the customer experience the product? How is our presentation? Again, tech is moving very fast. So if you look at our current app, to be very honest, and I want to blow a whistle, it's actually quite modern. It's what customers want. It's what they want to interact with. It's what they want to associate with. And you realize with time that customers want to relate with brands that speak to them.
Yeah. And you know, it's so funny because when I moved to the new app, as it were, the first thing was, it's kind of surprising, it was almost like an absence of buttons and experience. I was almost like, where did everything go? And then as I'm swiping, I just noticed that everything is about the swipes.
Yeah.
And you're not really clicking into anything. You're kind of like surfacing things by swiping around. And then when you have that at the bottom, the grow, the pay,
and the
discover,
yeah,
you kind of like super simple. Like it's much more like, maybe before it was taking you 4 or 5 clicks, maybe now it's only taking 2. And I'm just like shocked at how empty it feels. I don't know whether that's the right word, but it's just like almost like, okay, this is too little. Like I want more there. Like I'm used to seeing more. And that's been kind of my experience, that it sort of seems like, you know, I think it was Steve Jobs who said something to the effect that, you know, perfection or simplicity is not achieved when, actually it's a UX saying, it's something like, perfection is not achieved when there's no more to add, but rather when there's nothing left to remove. So the fact that you guys have taken away all the excesses, as it were, and made it super simple, I think just shows a very super refined UX to me. Yeah, would you say?
Yeah, no, thanks for the feedback. Actually, we're seeing that. When I look at the various use cases that I have on the platform, the ones that I track from a commercial perspective, there's actually just been a lift. For example, did you know you could set up standing orders? to service
No,
your...
I didn't.
Yeah.
I think I've seen the option, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, so you can actually set up. So that we've already seen, which means also people are getting into the cycle of more repetitive payments, and they're getting irritated that every month I need to pay for my electricity. I need to
Just
go and
automating it,
yeah,
huh?
yeah. So how do I set up a standing order, ensure that if I pay by the 20th, I have money in my wallet? So what we're saying is the use case adoption is actually through the roof. So we brought things closer to the customer. They don't have to look far. Like you said, it's simple clicks, not too many. Because what happens is consumers get tired. And so just make it simple. Bring it to where they are, they can see it, and then just make the execution process really, really simple, seamless as well.
So what you're saying to me is that already you've noticed much more engagement or more transactions. What are the metrics that you're tracking?
So we're looking at how many payments that are going in, again, by value. So we've seen like on a monthly basis, we're doing probably about 5 billion on consumer in payments. On the merchant end, about 2.5 billion. And now with the kind of uptick that we're seeing, we actually expect it to just, go through the roof. Our target, for example, on the merchant end is to do a minimum of 10 billion.
Wow.
At least this year. I mean, I need to hit that.
And UX is a key driver behind
this. Correct, it is. It needs to be enjoyable for the merchant. It needs to be enjoyable for the consumer when he's making their payments. So we're already seeing that. In terms of acquisition, I mean, we're doing about 50,000 per month. New customers. New users coming in.
Wow.
So I guess the work that we're doing on the marketing end is really driving that. And then now when you look at the conversions are really pretty good. Because now when you enter the app, you're able to see what's available to you.
Easily,
rather than trying to figure out what is this, But now it's available. So customers are just onboarding themselves and are being able to do fast transactions. But of course, because for us, customer intimacy and customer obsession is a key driver for us this year. It's our focus this year. Then we'll always ensure that we also engage you. We just don't let you get onto the platform and we lose you. No, there's actually an onboarding journey where we take you through. This is how we welcome you and educate you on what's available to you.
So I know you've talked about, what informed that decision, which is a lot of customer input, refinements, trying, of course, to be the best evangelist for the customer experience and so forth. But what about that, and again, if this is a bit technical to ask, but what about some of the specific steps that might have taken from a maybe slightly more technical perspective? Like, what's that journey like? Because I can almost imagine at some point there's a sense of, okay, this works, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to refine that experience to the next opportunity or the next level. And then there's this journey of how you actually get there. Is that something that you're able to talk a little bit about just in terms of now, can I call it the process perhaps, of actually achieving the new UX? Is that something you can talk to?
So in terms of the improvements?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the improvements that we've done is now you realize the app is actually more responsive.
Okay.
Before, it probably take you like 8 seconds. Now, 2 seconds, you're actually able to log in.
Or the speed at which you're able to get into there. Okay.
Correct. So that's one of the improvements that we've done. From a tech, I'm trying to think from a tech perspective.
What about the journey in terms of the building process, the steps that went into establishing this where we are, these are the inputs we need to change?
Okay.
Maybe almost like the project management side of this, yeah.
Yeah, so as Loop, we do have a customer experience team, which is really, really critical. And customer experience team basically is in touch with our consumers on ground. So what they did is they did do some study groups. We picked customers who are active on the platform, customers who would say was medium usage, and then the ones that were low. And basically did those study groups. That was the first genesis of the build of what do we need to do.
So literally brought them in, asked them the questions.
Yeah, if you were to use Loop more or if you were to improve Loop, what would you do? So first we listen to the voice of the customer. So build that through our customer experience team, which sits under our marketing team, and then pulled in the call center team because they're consistently touching base with our customers. So give us that feedback. So that was a fast build. And then thereafter we have a product team. The product team is then the one that goes in and decides, what are the journeys that need to be followed for us to fulfill this customer need. So basically, they're like the go-between between the tech and the business teams. And then after that, now was the tech team. Now, how do we deliver this? That the delivery team has actually basically built a Gantt chart, determine these are the milestones for us to get there. And so thereafter, we then went into a closed user group testing. So basically involving staff and select customers who we were very clear on, this is a pilot. We want your feedback. So by the time we open it to the bigger market, that we're all aligned on what needs to go out.
So you did a pilot period there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, towards the end of last year. And then February this year, we decided, you know what, let's take this to market. And so, learning off the lessons that we previously learned with the last change, we then said we're not going to do a forced update. And basically, over 50% of our customers actually converted and upgraded.
They've already transitioned.
Correct. To the new
And this
app.
is organically,
Correct.
gradually.
Entirely organic.
Yeah.
So internally, we're still having conversations on when we will do, you know, the first upgrade. But as is right now, the acquisition has been quite positive. So we see no struggle in us guys doing a first update or letting it grow on its own. Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you really used more like a design thinking approach
Correct.
to actually making this happen, correct?
Yes. We used human design thinking.
And I think this is so important for people to learn because in my experience, and I'm just speaking again to the market, and of course that I run an agency myself, many organizations are still stuck in the era of building things that they think the customer wants versus hearing the customer's voice and then aligning to that. I mean, what are your thoughts around that disparity? Because it's still a big problem in the marketplace.
It is. Sometimes you find we sit in the office and we build things for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense to us. But then you take it to market and there's no uptake and you're wondering what's happening. So our view has shifted, and that's why I'm talking about the customer experience team is really, really a core function for us as a business because we want to consistently hear the customer. Now, on the merchant end, we have feet on street. Merchant is new to us. We started the build last year in terms of, you know, taking it to market and POC.
It's a different app, yeah, from the one
Yes,
that the
it
consumer
is.
uses.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It's a different app. So for that one, we'll use our feet on street to get feedback. So we have our feet on street. We have our loop stores. We have about 9 across the country. We're looking at growing that by an additional 2 this year. And then we have the call center. So our merchants are able to give us feedback through the relationship managers, the feet on street that they're interacting with. They're able to come into our loop stores and give us feedback, and as well as a call center. So I think fintechs, and I'm a strong believer of this, should move away from building products for themselves. Listen to the customer, do a lot of co-creation. So what you'll see on our ecosystem, then the ecosystem end, we do a lot of co-creation. That's partnerships. All this that we're doing in terms of home and living, in terms of agriculture, in terms of health and education, in terms of in terms of trade ecosystem, we're listening to our customers. What do you need? What does that farmer need? And so we do a co-creation. So we've moved away from the mindset of we know everything, we know where things should be led, but we are more customer-led. What does the customer need? How do I build for that?
Wow. What are the next steps, you know, beyond this upgrade and refined UX that we see, the new propositions, which some of us are already enjoying? Where's Loop going next? What are the possibilities maybe in terms of propositions and maybe geographies as well? Because it seems to me that this is a product that, you know, shouldn't just excel in Kenya. It should be possibly in other markets and other new spaces that it's yet to cover in terms of the kind of financial services that you offer.
So if I can speak to the last comment about regions, so we are looking at going into Uganda, into Ghana, and into Rwanda. We already have a Loop in existence, but now taking the app into those markets. In those markets, we've partnered with telcos doing credit onto those telco wallets. So for this year, that's our expansion plan. How do we go into Ghana? How do we go into Uganda? And hopefully Rwanda in this year. So that's our expansion path. But in terms of in-country, even for the merchant, I think we're in all counties right now. You'll go into the deepest of zones and you'll find Loop in there. In terms of the bigger vision for the business this year is, one, to drive credit. We've realized that both consumers as well as merchants need access to credit. So how do we consistently innovate on that, you know, enable the day 1 credit as well as day 30, day 60, you know, consistently listening to the customers. What do they need? The other big proposition for us is to expand our ecosystems offering. So like I said, we're very strong in the agri space. We've been able to basically digitize the rice ecosystem, and we're looking at doing it about 12,000 acres at minimum this year.
Wow.
With the farmers on ground, with a vision of actually 100,000. That's actually our vision, and based on what we're seeing already, we'll surpass that 12,000. Certainly. So basically, in the ecosystems that we've chosen to play, how do we ensure that we fully service them? So that's really, really big for us. The third thing is BNPL. We've seen how BNPL is catching on in this country. How do we ensure we get the right partners in and ensure that we're servicing consumers? Because consumers are either looking to acquire a new item or you're looking to upgrade. So how do we plug in that space as Loop on the BNPL proposition? Again, We want to create that ecosystem through network effects by ensuring that we create the marketplace, by ensuring we onboard the consumers as well as merchants, so that then we can create that ecosystem.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, I can't imagine that this is just a straight path in terms of all the things that you've shared with us and what you're doing. And I mean, my mind is still spinning around the fact that you guys are now doing agricultural propositions. That's just, it feels like so far away from the original Loop to me.
Yeah.
But what are some of the challenges you face in doing, I mean, clearly what is very ambitious growth, and also, enhancing, propositions, geographies, market segments, consumer segments, so I'm just wondering, what are some of the challenges that you face in doing this?
So I think for me, ecosystem is probably one of the hardest because every ecosystem will come with its own challenges and different partners. And you realize, like, you probably have 5 different partners providing different things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? And because of that, there's challenges and difficulties and nuances that you really have to overcome. So I think for me, on the ecosystem end, it's the fact that you have to deal with different partners and different propositions, because whatever we're doing on agri, it will be very different from what we do on home and living. It will be very different from what we do on health and education. And so ensuring that you first of all have hired right, so therefore you're able to visualize, identify ecosystems, and then properly bring them to life. It's not just about launching something. And most importantly also is the impact. What impact are you having? Like for the agri farmers, you'll find that the fact that you're changing their lives, you're increasing the harvest, how much they're able to harvest, you're able to get them an off-taker, so you reduce the post-harvest loss. So again, I think the most difficult is the ecosystem, because it's different. Different solutions for different partners, and it's trying to bring them together. On the consumer end, is just ensuring that you're always top of mind for the customer, that when they think they want to, when you receive your salary in your bank account, you're like, if I need to make any digital payments, I'm moving them to Loop. So
Correct.
How do we stay top of mind? And that's where the lifestyle brand comes in, because then I realize it's not just about doing my payments. It's because once I load into my account, I'll be able to go into my Discover platform, and I'm able to see that Hotpoint has an offer, so I can, and I'll get a discount for it. So I can therefore, do my fulfillment on that front. I'm doing a payment and I want to fulfill the transaction. I don't have 5,000 shillings, and my transaction is I only have 2,000 shillings in my wallet, and therefore I can use OD. So how do you make it relevant, make it seamless, that it's at the point of pay? When it comes to your term loans, you're able to quickly, realize this is the customer's need, and already have already pre-existing limit to them. So they're not coming to apply, and then you're telling them come after 2 days, the need is gone. So the challenge on the consumer end is to ensure that you're always top of mind. And by being top of mind, it also means that you must meet the customer's need. Always preempting what they need and building for that, and ensuring that also when they come on board, they have a good experience.
Correct.
Yeah. On the merchant one is unique. Again, depending on the industry that the merchant is playing, is how do we ensure that we're able to fulfill the needs of the merchants at all times.
What about the area of competition? And here's the part where I really wonder whether they're really competing with anyone. Because just the way you described it as a lifestyle brand, the propositions, the extensions that you put into it, but also possibly a little controversially is that are there instances where, to some extent, Loop might be competing with NCBA itself in terms of the customer-facing understanding and the way that they see the brand? Because that's something that happens. The new bright and shiny thing sometimes outshines the mothership, so to speak. So does that happen? Is that something that you see sometimes as a bit of a conflict, or maybe they really do complement each other very well?
We actually complement each other. So I'll tell you, like I said before, on the loans that we'll do will be the smaller ticket sizes, which the bank might not have appetite for. And how we collaborate with them is, like, for example, if they go to see a partner who has a need, for example, somebody who needs to collect on the till, and the bank feels that this business needs more than just till collections, because on the Loop Biz app, you can actually be able to do staff management. You can do your inventory management. You're able to see your statement just once you log into the platform.
Yes.
So what our main bank will do is they'll partner with us. So you'll find there'll be Loop, the digital business, sitting in the same room as our corporate people, as our transaction banking people. And basically, we co-create a proposition and a solution for a client. So you might find that this particular anchor is a tier 1 anchor. and the bank doesn't want to go to tier 3, their suppliers, the suppliers on the value chain. And so that is where Loop will come in. So the bank will service the tier 1, the tier 2, and us guys will come and service the tier 3. So actually what we find is we are actually providing a full suite proposition and solution to clients when we go in together. So we have our chosen areas of play, and therefore it's well demarcated, that therefore it's very easy for somebody from bank to pull us in as a digital business to come and solve together on what we need to do for the customers.
And also imagine when an SME or even a micro enterprise grows to a certain threshold, they will need things that Loop cannot offer, and they might then either migrate or open a secondary account within CBA Bank proper that gives them things that they may not get with this other proposition that is Loop, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if an SME wants a construction loan of 10 million, that's not the place that we have chosen to play as a digital business, as Loop. And so therefore we will hand over this customer to NCBA Bank, our mother, to actually service them. So there's very clear demarcations on where we play and where they play.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the future as we sort of come towards the end of our conversation. And I'm thinking more around when we look at the broader digital financial services space, what's happening there. We're seeing the entry of neobanks. We're seeing other banks also have sort of started to migrate to possibly copy some of the things that you're doing. But when you think about the modern consumer, especially when you think about maybe some of the younger generations, the Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, who are coming soon into the marketplace, are there any key insights that you've seen around essentially the future of financial services, or the evolution of digital financial services as we know them in a very broad sense, not just banking, but think about insurance, all the investments, all these areas. What do you think is going to happen in this space in the next maybe 5 to 10 years?
So the one thing that I see is regardless of your solution, there will be a need for embedded finance. So as a financial institution, we must always be thinking insurance, how can we play? Construction, how can we play? So that's the one thing. Embedded finance is becoming a reality. Second, people just want to be paperless. Think about the last time you had to, go into a bank and, sign to withdraw. Most people, I want to move money from my account into my wallet and I do my payments. So again, that convenience of everything digital. Thirdly, besides the financial services, like you said, insurance is also entirely digital. Yeah, people want to be able to buy your insurance from the comfort of your home. I really don't want to interact with a human. Yeah, if I can do everything on my own, it's easier.
Why am I talking to you?
Yeah, and actually, you'll see with the Gen Zs, they prefer messages than calls. You call them and they don't answer, but with the minutes you WhatsApp, they will respond.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in an event. I think it was, if not PwC, one of the management consultancies. They said that they call it the digital exclusive. So it's a class of human who says, I don't want to talk to you, but I'm happy to text you.
Correct. So now how do you as a company, ride off that wave? Because I think it will just become more and more and more. And even if you watch the teenagers right now, when they sit together, they're on their phones. And you're like, guys, you wanted to meet, so why are you having conversations?
And all on your phones.
You're all on your phones. So how do we consistently as business people think, how do we ride this wave? What's the other thing I see? I think there's an opportunity in crypto.
Oh.
I think there is. I don't want to go into it, but I think there's an opportunity there.
So digital assets.
Digital assets. How do you ensure that you can participate in that you can enjoy the benefits that will come with that?
And Kenya is one of the biggest crypto markets in Africa, right?
Correct.
Millions of people are trading in crypto in this country.
Correct.
Wow.
So I think there's quite an opportunity there. I'd say those are and AI, of course. We can never forget about AI.
Has to come in the room.
Yeah.
So AI, how do you see AI playing a role in this space?
So I mean, for financial service, I think it's quite clear and straight cut. If you're doing underwriting, how do you embed credit in there? For us, we're big on digital marketing. How do you use AI to, churn things out faster, quality, instead of relying on humans? But of course, I'm not saying that humans will be replaced. They'll still be very relevant. How do we embed that in terms of savings? How do I show you that, Moses, if you save 10,000 every month and earn an interest of this much? So basically gamification. How do I show you that this is what the impact will be using AI? So there are many use cases for AI in the financial services space. I think it's
very much a cross-cutting opportunity.
Correct.
Wow. Very exciting.
Yeah.
And then would you like to share anything else with our audience? And in fact, I think it's very important maybe to share with them, if they're not part of the Loop family yet,
Yes.
how can they become a part of it, either as an individual or as a business or even as a merchant?
Okay. Yeah, so we are available on on the Play Store, on Google Play Store, as well as the Apple Store, where you can actually go in and look for Loop specifically for consumers, and then Loop is for merchants. So basically, it's a quick through, all digital KYC. You do your selfie for us to capture your image, and you're quickly able to actually become a Looper.
Fully digital onboarding.
Fully digital. Yeah, so we have a tagline where we say, "Why wait? Loop it." So please,
Loop it.
we want you guys to become loopers. So please download our app and become part of our users. Give us feedback. Like I said, we're very keen on customer intimacy, understanding what our customers want. We're customer obsessed, so please let us know. Thanks.
Sheila, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. I'm so delighted that you're able to unpack so many details.
Yeah.
And I think for me, above and beyond this fantastic new user experience is just the deep understanding of what Loop is trying to accomplish.
Yes.
And all the different features and functionalities. But what I'm getting from you here is that this is really almost a holistic approach to almost like your digital financial well-being. Whether you need a loan, whether you need to save, whether you need to grow. The idea is that Loop is able to kind of cover all the areas. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
That's what we want to be. Like I said, we want to be top of mind. So when you think about a solution, can I go to Loop and be able to do it? Again, we don't want our customers leaving one app into another just to fulfill a transaction. And therefore, that's why we're very strong on payments, strong on savings, strong on credit, and as well as now a new baby, which is Discover, which is basically the marketplace, so that then you can meet buyers and sellers in there.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll have you back again, maybe when Loop is Pan-African.
Yes.
And we hope that future becomes a reality.
Thank you.
So there you have it. We've spoken to her, and she's given us incredible insights about Loop. Sheila has deep insights on what the bank is doing in terms of delivering different types of digital financial services for the marketplace as individuals and also as businesses. And more importantly, I think they have this fantastic new user experience, which I personally have been using for the last month or so. It's really easy, it's smooth, it's slick, and quite surprisingly, very almost light, to the extent that, you think that maybe from the previous version, there's something missing, but it's all there. So have a go, try it out, and, hopefully we'll catch you in the next edition of this podcast. Thank you so much.